Welcome to TMZ Live. We have a lot of new information on the death of Celeste Rivas, who was found dead in the trunk of singer David's car. To start with, what is clear is that the authorities have not yet determined how she died, and that is going to be a critical component. Was it foul play or some other cause?
Right. Well, the death certificate was released today by the LA County Medical Examiner's Office, and it reveals something very interesting. It addresses one of the long-standing rumors about this case.
Yes.
About Celeste being pregnant. The ME's office says she was not pregnant at the time of death. And then the other thing we were looking for here was that cause of death, which we know is critical.
Because, listen, if it's not foul play, just as an example, and we don't know, it could be a drug overdose, it could be natural causes.
Right, and then that the body was cut up after.
But then there's no homicide.
Right.
And so they don't even know for sure whether there's a homicide, and the medical examiner is still trying to determine what caused Celeste to die.
Right. On the death certificate, it says deferred as far as cause of death and manner of death.
There are toxicology reports that usually take a couple of months, and since the body has been returned to the family, the only thing that would seem to be outstanding that's major are these toxicology results.
Right.
And like you were saying, Harvey, it's critical, because I talked to the police this morning. They need that component. It's a huge component. How did she die? They don't know yet. There's only so much they can do in their investigation. So at this point, they're not looking for a person of interest. They're not looking for a suspect because they don't know that there will be one.
What's interesting about that, though, is that there are certain markers that would tell you right away, is it foul play? I mean stab wounds.
There's certainly
a gunshot, a strangulation.
But the body was such awful shape. I mean, she could have been identified through dental work for all we know.
But even if she didn't die of foul play, there's foul play here. I mean, the body was dismembered.
Well, but there's
right. So I know it's different level of. It's not.
It's a huge difference. Is it murder or is it cutting up a body? And those are two very
different charges.
Yeah.
Both very disturbing.
Both very disturbing, but one way worse than the other, undeniably.
We know that this is a complicated, and my source used that word, complicated case. They're going over all the evidence they have right now, which includes going over everything they found in the Tesla, data for video, and they're trying to figure out what exactly is going on here.
So this is where it gets really interesting. They called it a complicated case, and they have data. If you see, now they have cameras on these Teslas, if you could see somebody
walking up to the Tesla with a bag that they then placed in the car, you seem like that's the person you got to, at the least.
And it ain't complicated.
Right. That part doesn't seem complicated.
Yet there's something more that we don't know.
They actually have data from the Tesla, right?
They told me that they've got a lot of evidence that includes the data from
that they didn't have to go to Tesla.
Correct, and they're going through all of that to see if it will yield a clue. They were very forward with, they don't know yet exactly what all is there. They are still going through all of it.
The one thing they also said to us that I think is really relevant is they are examining the relationship between Celeste and David.
Well,
that's correct.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that everyone has been talking about also, because she was 14 at the time of her death. How much did David know about her actual age, and what was the actual nature of the relationship? We know that we've spoken to people who partied with them who said that they certainly presented as boyfriend and girlfriend.
Yeah.
And
they were shocked that she was that age. They thought she was a student at USC, 18 or 19.
Right.
So, look, here's where we are right now. They are waiting, and I got to say, I'm a little bit confused that if the body is decomposed and they can't see physically what it is that caused her death, I'm not sure a toxicology report necessarily shows that. A toxicology doesn't show if somebody's strangled.
Not going to show, right.
It just
so
doesn't.
So what more are they going to determine from toxicology that would lead to the manner of death? Certainly, I don't think toxicology is going to show manner of death. I guess it
Well, it could
show
for overdose.
Right.
Correct.
It could for overdose.
Right.
But again, we don't know. And I don't know whether there are enzymes still or some way of, if there's a heart attack or something like that. But they're just saying, we don't know. And I think it's so interesting. They're saying this is complicated. And it brings me to something that I was talking to Mark Garrigus about on our Two Angry Men podcast, which is, and I'm not, again, we don't know who did it, what happened, if anybody did it. But there are a lot of people saying it had to be David. And people are saying it just had to be David. And we talked about this in the podcast, that you got to be careful here, because what if David is, and again, these are hypotheticals, what if David is being framed? I mean, how easy would it be to say he's dating this 14-year-old girl, he's writing songs about her, so you put her in a Tesla parked right by his house.
You put it in his Tesla.
His Tesla.
Right.
Right
Parked by his house.
His house.
Right.
And you leave it there and abandon it, knowing it's going to be found. Would he do that?
I get your point that looks far too obvious, right?
Yeah.
It's so on the nose that he couldn't possibly have done something like that.
Well,
Again, we always say that, but we're talking about someone, you're putting rational thought on someone who's done the most irrational thing. So
Yes.
whoever it is that did it, you can't necessarily assume that they are thinking rationally.
Here's the problem I have with that. The LAPD is now saying the body was there for several weeks.
Yes.
Now, again, we don't know when the body was put in the Tesla. The car was there for several weeks, and I think they may be making an assumption it was in that trunk for the 2 weeks that the car was parked there.
Sure.
But maybe it went in the car at some point after, but after it was parked. But what if it's in there for 2 weeks? You're right that somebody who does something that horrendous might be out of their head and they just leave it. But then there are 2 weeks to move that car. Mm-hmm. Why wasn't it moved?
Well, I mean, the other part of this is that David was out of town for a good portion, if not, actually, definitely most of August. We know he was on tour as of the beginning of the month.
But not
actually,
that far.
at
Not
the end of
that far
July.
from not that far from LA. In a
But
couple
the
of
early
situations.
dates were not far from LA. They were in San Diego area, San Francisco, and Phoenix.
Right.
All areas that you can easily, within a day or less, get back to LA. So
And the other thing, by
I
the
don't
way,
know if those work as great alibis for him, but it complicates things, right?
One other thing that I was told the day after the body was found, and this is a quote, a lot of people had access to that Tesla. That's from somebody connected to all of this, and maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But if they did,
Well, that would definitely complicate matters.
Hey guys, what's up? This is Diamond in Dallas. Now listen, something is not adding up. With David, my question is this. How come he has not at least been brought in to question? That's it. Clearly, David is connected to Celeste. So something is just not adding up. Why is it taking so long just to bring him in, to ask him a few questions?
well, let me just say that
If you're his
any
attorney.
decent criminal defense lawyer would probably say, we're going to pass on that offer.
Right. They don't bring him in unless you name him a suspect. He's not coming in.
And if they name him a suspect, you really don't bring him in.
Right.